Bet Online. First NFL head coach fired. The favorite is Mike McCarthy. Does that make sense? Is it trolly? We normally call out the trolly stuff. They trying to take advantage of the Cowboy market betting?
It's disgustingly.
Or is it fair?
I think that
maybe you should answer it first.
I think that when you look at the schedule and the way that it stacks up, the fact that we've talked about before, their fourth and fifth game of the season are San Francisco and the Chargers, which are two teams that are going to be big measuring sticks for Mike McCarthy, because it's the 49ers who have beat you 2 years in a row in the playoffs, that the Cowboys have shown they are willing to make changes based completely off of how they fare against the 49ers. And then the following week, it's a primetime game against Kellen Moore and the Chargers. And if they embarrass you there, then, yeah, I mean, there's a chance that he could go early. But I think he's going to be given the year regardless, probably. And so if that's the case, he very well could be. He's one of the few names that could be turned over next year or next offseason. But the first one fired early in the season, I don't see that.
That is the issue. If you were to say we're going to fast forward to February, and we're going to say which coach is most likely not to have a job in February, and you want to say Mike McCarthy's top that list, fine. First one fired, that means they get off to like a 2-5 start.
Right.
This team is too good. This is at the end of the day, whether you love them or hate them, this is a 10-12 win team. They just are. They do that kind of every year.
Yeah.
When their quarterback is healthy. This goes back to really Wade Phillips. When the quarterback is healthy, they win games. They make the postseason. If the quarterback gets hurt, they generally don't. That's kind of, last year they did. It's kind of how it works, though. And if Dak's healthy this year, they're going to win 10-12 games, with or without a coach change or not.
Well, they're going to be favored in 3 of their first 4. The Jets will either be even. Well, at Giants, they're going to be favored, the Cowboys. Jets in Arlington, Cowboys barely or even. The Jets will not be favored, I don't believe. At Arizona, you're favored. New England in Arlington, you're favored. At San Fran, they'll be favored. At the Chargers, they'll be barely favored or even. And then you get the Rams at home. So that's the beginning of the schedule. So, yeah, the thing, can I stand up without it just being a crotch shot here, or do I have to, move? Or I have to move my computer?
I think you got to tilt it a little bit.
I got to move around. I got to keep the blood flowing. The other thing to keep in mind is you have the in-house replacement here already.
Yeah.
If this was a Sean Payton hype fest, my Bill Belichick scenario, you wait till probably after you keep McCarthy after the season, but you got the in-house replacement. So
yeah. Do you want the actual lines of the 6 games they're not favored in throughout the whole year?
What's that?
You want the actual lines of the 6 games they're not favored in?
Yeah.
So they're a 3-point dog at San Fran.
Okay.
They're a 2-point dog at the Chargers.
How's there a 1-point difference between San Fran and the Chargers?
Probably the quarterback.
Probably Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore made up the difference.
They're a 3.5-point dog at Philly.
Okay. The Chargers getting way too much respect.
They're a pick'em at home against Philly. They're a 4-point dog at Buffalo. And they're a 2.5-point dog at Miami.
2.5-point dog
2.5.
at Miami. Okay.
So, when you're favored in 11 games, they're favored in 11 out of 17. That means their projected win total is 9.1 based on the over-under.
In order to answer whether it's a troll job or fair, I think we have to figure out who else is on the list. So I would like you all to tell me on the chartwreck.com text line, along with you two gentlemen, who's second, third, fourth?
Stefanski.
Stefanski is fifth, not second or third. There you go, Pepe.
All right.
I know you've been waiting for it.
Brandon
Roberto?
Staley.
Who'd you say?
Brandon Staley.
No.
Arthur Smith. Todd Bowles.
Arthur Smith is the chosen one.
Yeah.
How's he going to get fired?
Todd Bowles.
Todd Bowles is second. Todd Bowles is 6-1. Next.
Braves. No? Okay.
Man. Rivera.
Yes. Ron Rivera 7-1. I don't think you'll get the next guy. AFC.
Saleh.
Wait a second. Where does he coach? Where the heck does this guy coach? I don't even know where he coaches. I just blanked
Eberflus.
out.
Dennis Allen.
Dennis Allen.
That's the Saints.
Saints. I was like thinking
Raiders?
Yeah,
You're thinking
I was
Raiders,
thinking
yeah.
Raiders. So in order, it's McCarthy, Todd Bowles, Ron Rivera, Dennis Allen, Stefanski, McDaniels, Eberflus, LaFleur, Vrabel, Arthur Smith, Brandon Staley, Sean McVay, Dan Campbell. The most job security by a wide margin, least likely to
Andy
get
Reid.
fired, Andy Reid.
Yeah.
Well done. 250-1. And then Zach Taylor, Sean Payton, Sean McDermott, Nick Sirianni.
Wow.
By the way,
No Belichick. No Belichick, huh?
Belichick is, by the way, Sean Payton blasted. He destroyed the league yesterday over gambling. While we're talking about gambling, basically saying they don't educate them properly, bunch of hypocrites. They're sitting there and doing these FanDuel and these DraftKings deals, and you're sending guys away for a year. That's not helpful, so Sean Payton crushed the league. Belichick is 100-1. He's got like the 7th least likely odds to get fired.
Wow.
Are you surprised by that? I mean, if we bought in too much of this Robert Kraft-Belichick feud.
I mean,
He's
no.
Bill Belichick.
I know. You can't fire. I mean, I can't fathom a scenario where you fire him.
Right?
I'm trying.
Maybe he leaves. It's an agreement after the season. He's not getting fired.
Right.
Did Chuck Noll get fired in Pittsburgh when Cowher took over? Because I'm trying to think if the Steelers have ever fired a coach. Because Cowher walked away. Tomlin's been there for forever. Like, I mean, they've had 3 coaches in 52 years or whatever.
No,
it
he
is.
retired after the 91
So,
season.
yeah, I mean, honestly, the odds should probably be Pittsburgh is very last just because they never fire anybody. But
Isn't that remarkable?
it's wild that they've 3 coaches since 1968 or whatever the
Since
hell it is.
Vietnam, they've had 3 coaches.
Charles Robinson, Bobby, you were very interested to see him on the sidelines here yesterday. Why?
Yeah, I think Charles is a really, really good writer. For Yahoo
I think
Sports.
Broadus has a lot of respect for him.
Yeah,
too.
he's really good. He's a real good investigative journalist. He does a lot of good, research, expose things relating to the NFL. But he also, I sit up and listen or take attention whenever he's talking about the Cowboys because he's covered them effectively in the past on certain stories, and he's somebody who I think has good relationships with folks in the building who are in a position of power, and so.
Can I give away a little cheat sheet, a little tip here, a little camp hack? There's an office right there. There's a room, and I pay attention to who comes in and out of that room because in years past, I haven't confirmed it this year, that is where Jerry a lot of times will be chilling, or the PR person. So I pay attention. When Glazer comes, he goes in there. When certain people, Peter King comes, he goes in there. It's right under Brad and Mickey's room. It's that room right there. That's my camp hack.
That's a good one.
Yep.
I'll have to keep an eye out for it.
That's the type of access you get out here.
I didn't see if Charles went in there, but Charles has this story for a Cowboys roster on cusp of change. 2023 feels like an all-in Super Bowl push. And so I think it's important to specific ideas or concepts that he's trying to paint. It's important to take notice of the ones that are consistently popping up in his articles.
Because that headline sounds a little dramatic.
It does, and I think that if he's talking like that about the Cowboys, that means his sense of talking to people in this building is that they are on the cusp of change, that there's things that could be different here, or players that could be on their way out in the future. And somebody writes here, he says, this is the moment when the Cowboys are on the cusp of some roster change and potential revitalization in the next 12 months. It's a period when 2 things are intersecting in the agenda: a continued spin-up of younger parts on the roster that will become the next foundation, and a winding down of some long-term cornerstones that will need to be replaced sooner than later. And right in the middle of it, Dallas might have the most balanced cross-section of experience and talent since McCarthy took over in 2020. Jump down a little bit further, and he's talking about some of these players like Tyron Smith, Zach Martin. They acquired Brandon Cooks, but I mean, how long is Brandon Cooks going to be here? You've got DeMarcus Lawrence, Stephon Gilmore, J-Ron Kearse, Donovan Wilson, all guys who are on shorter-term contracts or who are getting towards the end of their career. He says it's not exactly an all-in or bust group when it comes to experience, but the implications of this team are clear. The Cowboys have a roster saturated with young talent and a handful of aging stars or starters who are entering dicey territory when it comes to the implications of their contracts. On the final line of his article here, he says, more than ever, and for more than a few heading for a sunset in the franchise, this feels like now or never. So the overriding theme here in what he's talking about they've got a lot of great talent. They're a balanced team. They're one of the best ones. But what he talks about here is there are several players that have been key to this core and are key to this core right now who are entering, in all likelihood, the final season of their careers with the Cowboys.
Wow. I mean, look, it makes sense. You can't keep changing. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You can't keep changing the coach. Thank you.
You got the other one.
There's no bug. We're slapping bugs off Choppy.
You can't keep changing the coach, right? If you change, they got rid of Garrett. Let's say they don't win this year, they get rid of McCarthy. Like, you just going to keep doing that and not recognize that it ain't the coach. You know, like maybe it's the construction of the team, maybe it's the quarterback, but you keep changing the coaches.
But they don't keep changing the coaches.
Well, they keep changing. Oh, it was Linehan. He was the problem with the offense. Oh, no, it's Kellen Moore. He's the problem with the offense. Oh, no, it's this.
Okay, like assistant coaches.
You know what I mean? They keep changing any kind of coaches. Teams got to recognize, sometimes it ain't. It could be that the fact that the coach and the quarterback don't mesh. Maybe that's it. Or it could be the quarterback isn't good enough, or the team construction isn't good enough. But if all they do, and this is the problem with Jerry the GM and Jerry the owner, is that it can't be the players, because I picked them.
Right.
Can't be that. So let's find something else to blame.
I did find there was another interesting note in here, and this could be more because this was only mentioned once. This could be more something that he was throwing out his own based at looking on the structure of the roster, but it's possible that this is something that he heard here. He says Dak Prescott is entering a phase where he's going to need to do an extension next offseason to get some relief from a $54.9 million salary cap number. So does that mean the Cowboys, who have this offseason told us, I think we'll just wake up one day at some point and it's done? Does that mean that they are approaching this as though, hey, we may not get the extension done this time around? That may need to be something that we're trying to do next offseason. He also says Zach Martin's impending push for a raise could signal a literal changing of the guard next offseason. Meanwhile, Tyron Smith, DeMarcus Lawrence, and Stephon Gilmore could all be let go in free agency next offseason.
Yeah, yesterday, Schefter was talking about all the Cowboy decisions. Is it really that much more than what we're used to?
In terms of player decisions?
Yeah, like I don't feel worried about it. I don't feel worried
because they find a way to sign them.
Yeah, they find a way. We give Steven crap. A lot of it deserved, I think, for no over-the-top piece. But they seem to do a nice job of keeping their own, which is their number 1, 2, 3, and 4 goal.
Yeah, he does. The Cowboys do. They do a couple of things really, really well. They do generally hit on their players, okay? And they do generally sign their own. And they're not really ever in cap problems. Like, they do a good job managing the cap.
You know what the cheap shot to take here is, and I can't pass up cheap shots.
Right.
When you have the guy at quarterback, we're not supposed to be having these conversations.
Well, yeah, the Chiefs don't have these conversations. There's no conversations about what the Chiefs do. Is this going to work out? Do they have to do this? No, they just got the quarterback, and the Chiefs are going to be in the AFC Championship game 6 out of 7 years.
Yeah.
They just are.
Yeah, I mean, Patrick Mahomes, he puts a tighter spiral on Simi Fehoko in practice, and the ball just literally sticks in his hands and doesn't get picked off.
Well, I mean,
it
look,
sticks in Peyton Hendershot's chest against the Titans' chop. That's what happens.
Mahomes does get away with some stuff, and he didn't last year at times. In the beginning of the year, he was throwing like, oh, wow, what's going on with Patrick Mahomes? It was starting to, those odds were flipping a little bit on him.